Oh, welcome back.
Long time no see.
Yeah, not long enough.
So are we going for the record, 85 people tonight?
I certainly
Hopefully
don't
not.
expect it. They'll be sorely disappointed. Everybody here? Not Christine. There's Rob. Eva, there she is. Okay. All right. Then let's call the reopen the open session of tonight's council meeting. Welcome everybody. The council has already approved. Well, no, we haven't. Let's do it again. So we had our closed session with the town attorney and we're back. So I need a motion to approve the agenda for tonight, which will be showing momentarily. There it is.
Motion.
Thank you.
I'll second Eva.
Thank you, Eva. All right. Now this agenda obviously is very long, potentially long. I just want to comment that we have a bunch of really pressing business that needs to be accomplished. Let me admit everybody else here, they're still waiting. Needs to be accomplished, and then we have some business that is of wide town interest, two matters. So I've indicated in several instances, or at least one instance, a recommendation that we just address procedural matters, but it's on there and we can do as the council chooses, obviously, when we get to those items. So any discussion about the agenda? If not, then let's move to a vote on the agenda. All in favor? I think I see everybody. Rob is studying his other screen. Okay, we're voting on the agenda. That's unanimous. All right, then we go to the treasurer's report. I'm ill prepared for the treasurer's report. Why is that? So Jean is here to do you have anything to say about the treasurer's report
There's nothing
before
new
I actually show it? It's coming.
Yeah, there's really nothing new to report other than the comments that I put in the report itself. I do want to point out at the very last page, at the very bottom, at the last meeting, I commented that there was a high amount in the PNC Bank money market savings account. It was beyond the 250,000 FDIC insured amount. I did move 250,000 out of it over to MLGIP. And you'll see there's a rather high amount in the checking account because that's where the state income taxes come into. And so we had gotten a chunk of change for state income taxes, and I moved half of that 60 back to the money market, just so we can get some better interest. So those were really the only things of import beyond the comments that I have embedded in the report itself. There wasn't a lot of change from the previous month.
Thank you, Jane. Anybody have any questions about the budget status and report?
I've gotten most of folks' budgets in. I will start working on them diligently this week and weekend to put the draft budget together. Although there's some pieces that are always at the last second because of some revenue items we don't get until the end, but the budget is on target for being ready for vote, a review, I should say, at the special.
Okay, thanks, Jane.
Yeah.
Were there any questions about the treasurer's report?
No.
All right, if not, I need a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I move.
Rob moved, Barbara has seconded, and no further discussion. All in favor of accepting the treasurer's
Aye.
report for February? All right, approved. Thanks. All right, moving right along. We have the mayor's report, which will be mercifully brief. However, the best part about my report are the kudos. And I want to give a major kudo to Christine, who's our volunteer super webmaster, who has been posting correspondence to the mayor and the council in the last few weeks. That's been quite a flood. And this, so residents have access and can see what everyone's writing. Those that were not on the listserv, for example, where many of these things are showing up. She's also, of course, updating the website on various and sundry pages. You can read her report for exactly what, but this has been particularly advantageous to the town that someone here in town invested in things that go on, has been spending so much of her time doing this. And I know that many of you and all of you and many of the active members in the town are appreciating her efforts.
John, can I just add? Well, I just want to add also that from the planning commission's point of view, and information that is floating everywhere. It was all in Charlie's mind, but it was very difficult to access. Christine is collecting all that, putting it in a way that we can actually access it. And just from the planning commission's perspective, it is just incredible how important that is for the town. So thank you, Christine.
Oh, you're welcome. And I just wanted to comment that, before I created this webpage with all the residents' letters on it, I mean, the way to read what other residents had written was go to the town hall between Monday and Friday, 9 to 5, and then you can read what other residents had said. And one of my goals in running for council and in working on the website is really to enhance not only transparency from the mayor and council, but just engagement generally. And I think that the fact that now residents can just go online and read what everyone else has said really does not only increase engagement, but also everyone's appreciation for the careful thoughts of their neighbors. And I've been so impressed with a lot of the thoughtfulness and the care that's gone into the letter writing in the last month. And, I applaud all of our residents for taking the time to submit to the mayor and council, and to people who may not have written, but have taken the time to read all of their neighbors' concerns.
Okay, absolutely. All right, there's another kudo. The chili supper was a few weeks ago. Which is kind of the heart of winter activity after the new year. To Peggy, Kunis Brewer, Arlene McCran, and of course the Women's Club for putting it on and getting everybody out, looking ahead towards spring. Good activity.
Mhm.
All right. The next item on my report is the shared use pathway. As you know, an alignment has been identified by MCDOT that the town concurs with. It is being in order for it to be now actually completed, a few more steps, which are unfortunately time consuming, need to happen. For one, they need to finish a 35% engineering study. They need to do a presentation to the planning board. And then they will need permits from the Parks Department, WSSE, because there's a right of way, and God only knows who else. All of which before anybody can do any construction. But the construction funds are now in the fiscal 25 county consolidated plan, infrastructure plan, and due to the help of our council members, Sydney Katz, and members of the liaison committee. So should they manage to accelerate things, construction could start in fiscal 25. Looks like it's a clear road to that, just going through all of the steps now until that happens. All right. Historic Preservation Commission, no one has stepped forward to help out the town with their interest in historic preservation. I'll start beating the bushes a little more thoroughly, as I'm sure everybody else will, to fill out the Historic Preservation Commission. Last thing on my report is I'm going to be away from the Grove for some brief periods in the next month and a half. The first will be this Wednesday through Sunday. Mayor Pro Tempore Barbara Raimondo is here, so she will hold the fort. Then I'll be away again from April 5th through April 10th. And that is over our council meeting time. Well, the April council meeting is April 8th, and I am uncertain whether I will be able to participate in that meeting. I'll be in Maine. Normally I would be able to do just as well as being here, except for the fact that the 8th is the day and late afternoon of the total eclipse of the sun, which is the whole reason I'm going to be in Maine,
Yeah.
is to actually experience that. So I was going to ask the council if you would consider moving the council meeting to the 9th. That's Tuesday. I would still be in Maine, but I will be in a place where I'm certain I'll have perfectly good virtual connection on Tuesday the 9th. The reason I'm asking you to do that is because Barbara is not going to be in town, although she says she may be able to, or probably will be able to be at the meeting, if not lead the meeting. So how does May 9th look? April 9th.
I'm also going to be out of town. to see the solstice, the, you know,
Yeah,
the solar flare, whatever it is. The
Eclipse.
Yeah, and I was just planning on calling in, but
That's
I'm
fine.
wondering now if all three of us are out of town, whether we should put it off for a week or so.
Well, I wouldn't want to do it for the April 8th meeting is important. If we pass the budget for the town meeting, the
Mhm.
council version of the budget to go to the town meeting. We can put it off a week.
Hey,
That's
John,
a good idea.
John, the budget ordinance has to be introduced. And I believe, is that the
Yeah,
one that's
A
time
few weeks in
sensitive?
advance.
Yeah,
I think we're okay. I could check
okay.
to be sure, but we're probably okay the following week. It's true,
Mhm.
which would be Monday.
The 27th, I think, is the absolute drop dead,
Yeah, so Monday the 15th or Tuesday the 16th.
but it does have to get into the bulletin, so whatever the timing is for that.
Yes, it will have to get into the May bulletin. We'll come back to that at the end of the meeting. Let's not pursue this here. We want to get on with the agenda.
Right.
I think it's the best policy at this point. Okay, that's the end of my report.
Wow.
The next item was the RASIC recommendations reflecting the resolution passed last year. The first thing I'd like to do on this item, Paula's here, and I think she, as chairperson of the RASIC committee, has something to contribute.
Hi, thanks. I just, first of all, I just want to say we have a leadership team. I'm not really the chair. So it's a
All right.
team. So I just want to clarify that. But I have a short statement. You are so booked that I'm just going to read it real fast. Thanks for, first of all, for putting us on the agenda. But we would like to, the RASIC committee would like to withdraw the recommendation to consider renaming McCaffrey Hall. Comments are still coming in, and some residents would like an opportunity for the whole town to be able to express their opinions. And deciding at this point, we felt even just to consider would be difficult and even rash. And oftentimes these kinds of events typically take years. We would really like the council to consider the other recommendations without the distraction of the renaming recommendation. And I know those were going to be on the April agenda. I don't know if they still can be, but we would really appreciate the consideration of the other recommendations not being overshadowed by that one. Furthermore, you know, in doing the budget, we've come up with a lot of priority projects, and they're really intense. They're going to take a lot of time, effort, and work. And we just want to focus on those now. So those are the reasons that we would like to withdraw that recommendation.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
point of
thank you.
order.
Thank you, Paula. Now we'll have to see what the council has to say on these recommendations. I did indicate we should decide how to proceed, and certainly is the time to do that.
Mhm.
So this is Barbara. I just want to clarify,
Yeah.
the recommendations are now in the hands of the council. So it's
Yeah.
really up to the council to decide what to do. It's, you know what I mean? Like once it comes here, it's in our hands. It's not up to RASIC to withdraw.
No,
It's
I get it,
already
but can't we make a
RASIC.
request? I do get that, Barbara, I really do, but can't we make that request? Because we do still want you to consider the others, and they are in your hands, I get that. But this is just a request to withdraw that.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to go right ahead and say, make the motion that we decline to act on all 5 of those suggestions.
Whoa, on,
Excuse
I'll
me.
second that.
I don't understand.
So wait, that was a motion, so you need a second.
I second that.
Okay, Christine.
Okay.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. You guys probably should have waited to explain the motion better before seconding it, but that's to not act tonight
Oh,
forever.
Yeah.
For
Not
the council,
precise.
yes, to move on.
not
Tonight.
to act on them ever? Is that what you said?
Now,
You
wait a
can, you
minute.
can always come
Oh,
back.
Oh,
It's-
hold it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, I'm asking.
I
you
think
to
those are the ones. Yes,
clarify
John.
this motion.
Wait,
Would-
Peter, I am still not clear. Are you talking about forever or just not acting on them tonight?
No, I'm talking about that we do not act on them. If the word forever sounds harsh, but yes, that we're not acting on these.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear.
We move on. You can, Eraser can always come back. You know, you can reword, you can do whatever you want, but based on an overwhelming amount of information that we received, and you know, I can't speak for the council. They can speak for themselves now, but based on what's taken place over the last month, I think this is in the best interests of the town. And I think that you know, personally, I think that Eva, I don't know if you've seen Eva's email she sent today, but I think that really spoke to, you know, put in good words what I feel, a lot of people feel about these directions. And if you haven't seen it, it will be on the website. You can read
It's
it.
already on the website.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just hop on here. Yeah, so I wrote down my thoughts about all 5 recommendations. And it's, you know, it's more nuanced than just a no. But I don't feel that council needs to, well, I'll say this, for some of them. So for example, the shared use path recommendation, you know, RASIC and/or the you know, shared path liaison committee can certainly, you know, go to other communities and try to encourage them to move the county along. Like, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying council doesn't need to approve that. That can just happen on its own. Same thing for the communication, number 5, the communication with Emery Grove. That's something RASIC can do on their own. Like, I'm not saying no, don't do that. I'm saying no, the council doesn't need to approve or be involved with that. Like, RASIC can figure out the best way to communicate with Emery Grove and surrounding communities. So, you know, I think my answer for all of those was a nuanced no, and you can read my written comments there on the website and the listserv. Just that council doesn't really need to act on any of these. Oh, and for the DEI specialist, I said, no, I don't think that we need to hire a DEI specialist. Now, I would support if RASIC came to us with, you know, here's a 2-hour DEI training that we've found and we've vetted, which I know you guys have done in the past. I remember you guys kind of vetting a DEI training that I attended. So if you guys found something that you felt like was appropriate, that you could come to us and say, I would fully support, you know, council members taking a training, you know, committee chairs, interested residents, but I don't think we need to hire a DEI specialist, and I don't want to, like, I don't know, it seems premature. Like, I want to see what did you find? What is it going to be like? And then we can vote on it then. So yeah, so with the DEI thing, I wasn't saying like, no, I'm saying this proposal, no, but come back to us with something else. So that's where I stand, just to kind of explain a little bit more.
And maybe Christine can address you want to address the website, Christine, or not?
So I understand where the comment came from, because we did have that one rather vituperative anonymous letter, which I initially posted thinking of the sender's free speech, but then John easily convinced me that people who post anonymously do not have free speech rights. You have to sign your name to something. And so we made a policy, which is really all I was interested in, is either having a policy of, yes, we post anonymous letters, or no, we don't. And the policy is now stated there. I cannot think of any other situation where anything could be posted that is, I can't remember all the adjectives that you put in to the recommendation, but, you know, hateful or, you know, whatever it was. The only scenario in which that would come up is in the residents' letters. And they are, as long as those letters are signed, they are protected by free speech. And so I don't think that this will come up again, but if it does, I think it's something that can be resolved between the mayor at the time and the webmaster at the time. And if necessary, we can bring in the council, but I don't see a need for an added bureaucracy of appointing like 3 people who would look at this. I just don't see it ever coming up.
Mhm.
And Christine did
Mhm.
add something just today on the website that says it's like a views expressed disclaimer that says the views expressed on this website do not reflect the views of Washington Grove or the mayor, council,
Mhm.
etc. So I
Yeah.
think, you know, yeah, I think it's clear that those views are the views of the person who wrote it and signed it, and we have a policy of not putting up anonymous letters. And I know just from this past week, with Christine working so hard to get the letters up in a timely manner and people being like, why isn't my letter up? And if we had to add a whole nother step to that process, I think it would just be really challenging, especially with kind of the gray area of people trying to decide. Yeah, and I'm not sure of the legality of that anyway. I think we've got a good policy.
Mhm.
One of the suggestions was to put a disclaimer up, so I'm really glad that happened. I'm actually wondering if people read carefully what the recommendation said, not the website in particular, but that one was not adding another step. It would only be if there was something that was questionable, and that way it wouldn't fall just on Christine's shoulders. It was partly meant to protect her, and to have and as far as the communication goes between Emory Grove and Washington Grove, there were incidents that set us back in our relationship, really set us back. And that communication wasn't just about events, but it was also about miscommunication, to know who to talk to loop the council in. It doesn't mean they have to be involved all the time, but there would be a person just to know who to go to when something arose on both sides. That's all I'm going to say about that. I didn't think we were going to really be talking about all the recommendations tonight. I thought I was just going to make this one statement, but I'm really disappointed at this blanket just no for everything. So absolutely no recommendation is going to be considered.
Of these 5.
Well, Paula, I wouldn't put it that way.
Motion and we are debating it.
Exactly.
Okay.
We may,
Yeah,
we
we
may vote.
are considering all
Okay.
5.
All
Yeah,
right,
we may
thank
vote
you.
for it.
Thank you,
I mean,
Rob.
we may vote for Peter's motion. I
Mhm.
personally am opposed to Peter's motion. I think there are at least 2 recommendations that I think are valuable, and I'd support the town council endorsing. And so I'll offer an amendment to the motion that we adopt the recommendations regarding a formal town collaboration with surrounding communities on the shared use path, and a formal communication system between the town and Heritage Emory Grove. I think those recommendations are sound and very good ones. And I've seen, you know, I saw Eva's note, I saw Shelley Winkler's note, on a few other people addressing all the recommendations. Obviously, the great majority was on the renaming, and Roy Six withdrawn that. But I think those 2 recommendations are very positive, and I think that those I think we all recognize, and I saw, Eva, you quoted a note from Jay, but I took Jay's view to be the more collaboration and the more interested parties who are pushing together to get this shared use path built, the better. And so why not try and make kind of a more formal allegiance or relationship collaboration now, particularly because it is something that absolutely, I mean, we're trying to integrate the town with our surrounding community. So it's sort of the perfect project that would bring our communities together.
Right. I guess I don't
this-
understand why the council needs to approve that.
Right.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
or
It's not that
we
we need to approve it, it's
or
that
can we just say
we're
yes,
endorsing.
do that?
Yeah.
Like, it should already be done, being done. Like,
And I mean, and the place that we are with the path is that the county's doing engineering studies and going through the permitting process. There's really not, we don't really have control over that. The only thing that we're looking to do right now is to get them to hurry up and push them to do more. So this thing of like, well, if we change our mind about something, we should tell them. There's really nothing for us to change our mind about right now. We have to really work with the county to get this done.
I'm
We
gonna
don't,
get the recommendation and read it because that's really not what, that's not.
I agree with the recommendation, with the motion that Peter put forth.
We had Rob with an amendment. Did anybody second that proposal?
I mean, I guess I would be okay with putting an amendment to say something to the effect of, yes, we endorse RASIC and the shared use path liaison group to encourage surrounding communities to contact who's the DOT to push the bike path along. The thing I don't want, because Paula's recommendation, or I'm sorry, RASIC's recommendation mentioned something about vision, and I don't think it, like the vision of the shared use path and collaborating, and I'm sorry, I don't have the language in front of me, but collaborating on the vision. And I think the vision portion has passed. And if we try to go back to the vision, then we're going to slow things down. I think, you know, am I wrong, Paula? Is it not?
Thank you, Eva. Thank you for asking. The vision is for all of the community to get together about the whole area. This isn't about asking anybody to comment about the little section that's already decided upon from Washington Grove to connect. It's not about going backwards. It's about saying, hey, let's see about all the other roads that are going to end up connecting to the shared use path. Let's talk about how we can negotiate together for a vision of the whole area, not just Washington Grove. What the proposal said that we would share bring everybody else up to date with already what has happened in Washington Grove, and then talk about what other communities envision, and then collaborate together and negotiate together for the rest of the area. And this is bringing them in not to comment on what's already happened, but so we can all have some kind of shared vision and negotiate together with the community. It's not about commenting about this little piece in Washington Grove.
Okay, I misunderstood that's what you guys were talking about.
Yeah, and what Paula has just said, I mean, I don't have a vote here, but I think blanketly, I mean, rejecting these suggestions without a discussion is kind of a disservice to the town.
Yeah.
Not only.
John, we're discussing them now. We're discussing them.
Yeah.
But we're not doing
We're
a thorough job, Barbara, and we have to move along on this agenda. You don't have to move along. We can be here all night, but my recommendation is if you don't need to take any action. You don't even need to vote not to take any action. You just don't take any action. But I do think I would recommend that the council pick up each one of the recommendations individually and decide whether to do anything about them. Just because there's been a lot of input, I don't think means that the council should abrogate its responsibility to address each one. It can be quick. We can start with a vote. Does anybody want to consider this recommendation? No? Done. Or if they do, then maybe a little bit. but I think just in response to the furor, let's push it aside, is a disservice to the town, as well as to those who post these things. Rob, at least, and I think Eva, you know, expressed his opinion that he saw some advantage to at least several of those recommendations. It may boil down to that the mayor will, you know, will engage in a dialogue concerning the bike path and how access to that path from the Washington Grove side will can be enhanced with our surrounding communities. That's a perfectly reasonable thing. I think we just heard Paula say that. Anyway, that's my.
I just want to say that
we have a motion on
Yeah.
the.
Okay, and
table.
I'd like, since I put the motion up, okay, Rob used the word positive, okay? Nobody's saying that these recommendations, even the McCatherine Hall name change, you know, there's some positive things in all 5 of these suggestions. And I think the town, despite all the excitement that's gone on, we've all learned a lot. We've all had to go into our souls and look at how the past affects the present. I think that a lot of us are now much more interested and excited about moving forward and being more proactive with our neighbors. Good things have come out of this, but I think what we're not hearing, what Eva said, is that why does the council, why are we voting on this? This can all be done by RASIC or other people. Why is the council, why do we have to be involved in this?
Because we're the town elected representatives. And
Exactly.
And I think that if we want to make a statement as to what the leadership of town believes the town should be committed to and stand for, then I think just saying we don't feel like doing anything. You RASIC, you go about what you guys are interested in, and God bless, but we don't care, and we're just going to blanket reject all of these. I think sends a terrible message, not to just our neighbors and friends on the RASIC committee, but to the neighboring communities that many of us, you know, supposedly profess caring about. I think that this kind of cavalier, like just blanket rejection, as John said, guys, the approach was really tone deaf. And I please, I urge my colleagues to and maybe we can't do it tonight because we only set aside 10 minutes, and the most contentious, obviously, recommendation has been withdrawn, but I think several of these have merit, and I think we should take each one, as John suggested, and evaluate them. And I, for one, certainly think that the collaboration on the shared use path and formalizing a communication system with Emery Grove have a lot of merit, and I'd be dismayed if we didn't endorse those, particularly given the rather modest and common sense recommendations that RASIC actually promulgated for those 2.
This is Barbara. I really want to push back against the characterization of us as not taking this seriously or not really looking at it thoroughly. I have spent, I'm sure I'm not the only one, many hours over this past several weeks reading comments and talking to residents and following up with people about what these recommendations were about, going back to the history, rereading the recommendations again. I know that I have done a very thorough job looking at all of this, and I feel very comfortable that I have taken it very seriously. So I really want to make the point that I don't think that criticism is fair.
That wasn't,
For everybody to
Barbara,
defend-
that wasn't directed to you. But I mean, and I'm just suggesting, if people hear when the first thing that the town did was have one of our members, the town council did, one of our members say, I want to reject all of these. I propose the town reject all of these basically forever. I mean, not like deferring it, not tabling it, but saying reject all of these. And I don't understand why we would reject, certainly at least the 2 that I've identified. I don't think that anyone has not taken him seriously. That's not, I'm not saying people haven't spent enough time on it. And we all know, Barbara, how much time you personally have spent working with RASEC, and your efforts have been commendable. Please don't take offense at it. But I do think, and I repeat, that I think that we will come across as tone deaf if we sort of give this the short shrift that it sounded like we were prepared to give it.
So I'll just jump in and say, I mean, I think from where, Peter was coming from when he made the motion, like we've been steeped in this, we feel like we've been steeped in this for a while now. And, we're ready to just kind of make an action on it. Rob has convinced me that I would want to put some amendments on here because, and if you read my response, a lot of mine was, yes, this should be done. Why, can it just go ahead and be done? What does the council need to do? And I guess the council just needs to say, yes, do that. I was under the impression that like, I guess I thought like, why is this coming to us when it could be already being done? But maybe we need to put our stamp of approval. Like I said, I'm all for RASIC and the Shared Use Liaison Committee working with other neighborhoods. And that I think I just kind of scanned over that recommendation. It seemed in my reading that it was just talking about our particular Washington Grove connector, but now that I understand what Paula said, it's about all, there's that Gaithersburg path that's going to come by the post office and, hopefully, so I understand now it's more about a bigger connecting, with pathways. So I'm willing to say, yes, they should do that. As far as the communication system, I'm not exactly sure what we're agreeing to. Like, yes, we should have better communication. So I don't know, maybe we need to discuss that one a little bit more. And so, yeah, so maybe we need to come back to this. It sounds like we're going to need to work on this more and we're not going to be able to move along tonight with it. I don't know.
The recommendations to me were too loosey-goosey. If RASIC came back and said, here's exactly what we want to do. So we know are we talking about adding more work for, Barb because she's the RASIC council member, or, like exactly what does RASIC recommend instead of just, oh, let's have more communication, come back with a specific proposal. Because I can't vote for any of the proposals, the recommendations right now. They're just too vague for me and I don't know really what they mean.
Yeah.
And part of the idea was to give some latitude so that the council would be able to give input and plan something that was comfortable for them, for you all too. That was part of the idea. But if you want it more directive, I can do that. But I really would love for you all to just think about having an actual dedicated time to talk about each recommendation. And I can explain more about what's already there. And then if you still want it to be rewritten and more directive, we can do that.
I mean, isn't all that RASIC is recommending in the current proposal before us that we appoint a liaison who's just going to coordinate with Emery Grove on kind of issues of concern to the town and the Emery Grove community. I mean,
why are you just talking about Emery Grove?
To serve as a contact person and backup for Washington Grove with a process to maintain continuity if the personnel changes. This could be a council liaison and a RASIC member. And then the contact people would need to keep track of the Washington Grove calendar, pass information between the communities and consult with others if needed. And then I guess there's I'm not exactly sure about the 4-person.
Yeah, and that's not in stone for a reason. But if you want it to be more directive, we can do that.
Yeah, I just, I mean, it is loosey-goosey, but I think
Okay.
sort of for a reason, because we, you know, we're not exactly sure what what the various things that they're going to communicate with Emery Grove are about. I mean, this is not the decision-making authority always stays with the town and the mayor. So this just says like, hey, let's set up a kind of a liaison system with Emery Grove and have the kind of the town government's, you know, someone said stamp of approval. Same, similar to collaborating with surrounding communities about the shared use. I
Well,
think
why can't RASIC do that? Why does the council have to get involved?
why not have the council get involved? I mean, we're the
Okay.
town government. I mean, I guess I just find it curious. I mean, it's not binding our hands. I don't think we're even passing. It's a pretty modest proposal, but to have the town government say the town government isn't interested in that, but if you RASIC committee want to do that, you know, go ahead. We don't really care. I just. I mean,
I mean, we
the
do
way
have
it
really,
sounds just strikes me as like I don't think that that's what we intend, because I know our group. I don't think that people on this committee, on this council, feel this way, but it's sounding really bad. I'm really surprised. I mean, the whole renaming, that's a whole separate issue, but these other ones in particular, I just I'm just surprised that there's not.
Maybe the
Yeah,
way
look,
is
there's a motion on the table, guys. I know you're going back and forth on exactly what should be happening on each one of these recommendations separately. Whether it takes 30 seconds or takes 15 minutes. We haven't had time on our agenda to address them. They are not pressing matters. We have other pressing matters.
Well, I
and
think this
we
is a pressing
recommend
matter
that
because
we vote down this vote down this motion, and we will end this topic and move on and take it up again where there's time to handle each one in a direct way, rather
Well,
than
I totally disagree. You know, this is, if you read everything that's going on is in turmoil right now. And first of all, Mary hasn't spoken, but you know what? We learned, I think the council learned a lot by what Paula said tonight and what Rob said tonight. I think this conversation was really, really helpful as far as, but I don't want to just table this for the next 6 months. I'd like to move on. Let's move forward with this, okay? And so if we spend some time doing this, I think it's well worth it. And we're almost done anyway, but Mary hasn't spoken.
Well, I've kind of been convinced that I think part of the frustration was that so much time was being spent on this, and it got, you know, derailed into just the, you know, to the number one proposal. But I do think it is reasonable to discuss each one individually. But you know, we do have so many other things to deal with. Maybe it's a matter of how do we do this going forward. You know, the special meeting for the council to discuss with it, or but I do have to agree that I think we really just got a lot of feedback on the first issue, and it kind of took up a lot of time. But you know, there are other modifications maybe that can be made with the recommendations that came that we could agree on.
so maybe the biggest one that people are most concerned about is the taking off the name of McCatherine on Town Hall. So maybe that is something that we can, if Peter is willing to modify his motion to address that and then hold the other recommendations for another discussion.
Right,
Yeah,
I
I
think
would support that, because I think, you know, Rob's convinced me that we need to take each of these, except for the renaming one. I think we can, especially given that RASIC is wanting to take it back. I think we can vote on the renaming tonight and then say we're going to continue the discussion and vote on the other recommendations. Because I do think that, like Rob said, I don't know. I think I was maybe anyway, I think there's stuff there that we can put our stamp of approval on and put a positive spin on that. And we need to take more time with those four, and we can vote on the renaming tonight and hopefully, get some of our other stuff done. So
And Paula, I think that one of the things that really worked against you was the arrangement where the McCatherine Hall was a black and white situation. And when you saw that, then you assumed the other four were kind of black and white and they were not open to discussion. I mean, that was kind of my perception. And that's why I would say reject all five, because we need to have this discussion that we're having right now. So I think Rob did us a service by proposing that. So I would change my motion to say that we would just reject the McCatherine Hall one, and we have a discussion on the other four.
I think
I'm not sure. Do we even need to vote on a
need to
withdrawn
yes, just
recommendation?
Excuse me, you just need to withdraw the second and the motion, and it won't be voted on. It'll just go away, and then you can introduce a new motion.
Okay, I withdraw my motion, and I introduce a new motion.
Right, who's the second? We gotta get the second out of here too. Christine, I think you were the second.
Yeah, and what happens if I don't withdraw?
No.
Then we'll have to vote on the.
Let me just say, I have considered all five proposals. As written, I don't support any of them. I would be willing to support some of them if they were more concrete. So, I'm fine with voting on all five tonight, and like I said, I would not vote in favor of any of them. What I would like RASIC to do is come back with more concrete suggestions, one at a time, instead of four of them at a time, and have them be sort of better thought out. I mean, for one thing, Paula, you're talking about talking to Emery Grove. Well, we never talk about any other community other than Emery Grove. And if you're just interested in building bridges with Emery Grove, fine. But let's not talk about all the neighboring communities if our outreach is only to Emery Grove. That's one thing. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, obviously, I guess some of what I've written has not been read or understood, or I didn't write it well or something, but there is a reason that we're focusing on Emery Grove right now. And that is because that a lot of damage has been done. And from the feedback that we have gotten, it is clear that we need to improve that communication, deepen the conversation, have more authentic relationships, and focus on that before we do the outreach to other communities in a really concentrated way. It's not that we're not going to do it. It's just that is our current focus.
I also think that Emery Grove is a good place to start because they had a social infrastructure in place around the church, around Reverend Warner. I mean, they communicate well among themselves. So it's kind of a good way to start. But I just get tired of hearing about Emery Grove and nothing else. The other thing is I want you to consider whether some of this like working together with all these, like with respect to the bike path, for example, could that be done through, East Gaithersburg United? Like, are we creating another group where there's already group that exists that could do the same kind of work?
The community need to be involved in that somewhat, but I didn't think we were going to really go this deep, and I really am cognizant of your time. You do have a heavy agenda here. I was just going to make this statement and go away. So I'm surprised that you're getting into this, and I appreciate that people are considering another time to really focus on the recommendations. I heard what you said, Christine, and I need clarification about how this is going to be left.
All right, so I will withdraw my seconding of Peter's motion.
Okay, so you all know what that means. There's no motion on the floor. If there is no further motion, we can terminate this agenda item and move on, or
Peter, weren't you going to make another motion?
It would just be, I mean, I would like to make a motion, do what Christine said, is reject all 5 and have RACIC come back with something that's a little bit clearer as far as what they'd like to do that we can act on.
Can I make a comment on this?
Well, okay.
I think, you know, in my opinion, it misses the point of these recommendations. The point of the recommendations was that there is a lack, there is something the town can do to, this is in RACIC's opinion, to improve things. That was the gist of each one of these. Whether the council does it the way they suggested or in some other way, or whether, as has been said, look, we're communicating just fine, RACIC, you know, keep communicating or whatever. I mean, those are all perfectly reasonable responses. I think personally, complaining that it's not a specific enough recommendation it tosses it back. You can do that and just ignore the recommendation as not being actionable. But it doesn't give anybody the flavor of how anybody actually thinks about it. I mean, we've heard some opinions now, but
Okay, so let's just move on. I'm making the motion to decline to act on the suggestion that we change the name of McCatherine Hall.
Second, who's second?
I'll second it.
Okay, well put, Peter. He phrased that correctly. Decline to act is exactly appropriate. All right. Do we have
Mrs. Barber, can I speak to that?
Sure.
I think that that's very unfair to the residents of town who have been very emotional and very anxious and very upset about this and looking to the town council for leadership. And you have seen, because they didn't think there was leadership, there were all sorts of ideas of how the town should fix this, you know, have some anonymous vote or something like that. I think we see where people stand on this. And I think we should be clear about where we stand on it. This is why, you know, we had 80 people on the call last time and 39 tonight. And I think if we have a clear vote of what we think of the name change recommendation, then we can put that to rest for a while and calm people's anxieties, and then have a more nuanced and thorough discussion about the other recommendations. So I do not support that motion to not act.
Yeah, I agree with Barbara. I think it makes sense to vote on the name change tonight and then discuss the other 4 recommendations and figure those out at a later time.
I thought, isn't that the motion I made?
No, you said
Yeah.
decline to act.
Right, right, but they made the suggestion and we're not acting upon it. You wanna, that's all we can do. Oh, so you make the motion.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
I move.
My motion seconded?
No.
I said,
Oh, that's what I thought I did.
Seconded.
Okay, so you make the motion.
Christine seconded. But Barbara, how would you phrase
I
a
thought I
motion?
said that.
Since go ahead, let's see if it has a different.
I move that we reject the suggestion that the name of McCatherine Hall be changed.
It was to consider it. So you're rejecting.
This is my motion.
Isn't that what I said? We declined to act on that suggestion. Is that
decline
the
to
same
act.
thing?
I think the result would be the same. Okay, so let me say the result would be the same because the name wouldn't change, but this would send a clear message to residents of where we stand on this. I feel like if we don't act, then people will still be wondering, well, is it going to come up in the next meeting? Is it going to come up in the next meeting? Do we have to have a special town meeting for it? All of those emotions that have been rolling along, we'll still be hearing that. So I feel like this would really put to rest the anxieties that people have over this.
There's a motion on the floor to decline to act.
No,
What's
The
the
motion-
record?
reject
do I have
the
to-
recommendation.
Well, I think I already made the motion and it was seconded.
Yes.
But I thought you withdrew it.
Well, I'm trying to.
Okay, I'm
Wait a
confused.
second. So you're
I'm
gonna withdraw
withdrawing
your
it.
next motion too, Christine? Are you
I
gonna?
know, what's the record for having the most motions rejected?
I concur in the withdrawal of the motion.
Okay, motion's gone. Do I hear another motion?
Barb?
Barbara.
I move that we reject the suggestion that the name of McCatherine Hall be changed.
Seconded.
Any further discussion?
I will
Move.
just say that please read what I wrote because I do think that it was a very good thing for us to consider. I think maybe we should consider it again in the future. But I don't think it is the right choice for now. But you can read my thoughts further in my letter.
And I would like to say my thoughts, since I made the motion, and I think it's important for people to know. So the grounds that were given, and it's important for the future, if people want to talk about it in the future, you'll know why at least, Eva and I voted the way we did or recommended the way we did. So the two grounds that were given were the blackface and the covenants. Okay, we know the mayor wore blackface. Did he do it to be hostile to Black people and show contempt, or did he do it because it was entertaining? All the evidence I've seen points to the latter, so I am not going to hold that against him. Something that was very common at the time. The covenants, I don't know what evidence there is. I mean, there's a line in a book that's pointed in Phil Edwards' book that's pointed to, but Phil Edwards himself said he did not believe that Roy McCatherine was behind those covenants. Charlie Chostrom, who knows more about the covenants than anybody, did not find evidence that he was behind those covenants. So for me, I can't pin that on Roy McCatherine. So I'm completely unconvinced from that evidence. And of course, we know he did a lot for the town. If you read the history, I mean, there's a lot of pages, but you can sum it up with, it was a mess, with the shares being sold and who was in charge and people were leaving and the association didn't have enough money. There were a lot of problems. And once it was set that the town was going to be incorporated, then it really was set on a path to the infrastructure and the place that we live in now. And that is due in very large part from Roy McCatherine. And that's why his name is on that building. The criteria that were used to make this recommendation were never clear. Dave Costin sent a letter explaining what Yale did to consider their name changes of buildings on their campus. And that may be a good system, or maybe a bad system, I don't know, but at least there's something there that people can point to the criteria and have a discussion about. We really did not have that here. And the whole idea about promoting healing with our neighbors, I haven't seen the evidence of that either, because I'm sure most people outside of our town don't even know we have a town hall. They don't know what the name of it is, whom Roy McCatherine was. So I did not see evidence that changing the name would promote any kind of healing within our communities. And then, of course, where the residents stand on this, I don't need to say any more about that. You've read all the letters. So those are my reasons for opposing the name change.
I hope you read my letter also.
I read everything.
To all
I read
of that,
everything.
because it was nuanced. My position was nuanced as well. But well,
Okay, anybody else have a comment on this motion?
Yeah, I do. A couple of comments. I don't support the name change. My views for why I don't support it is probably a little different, and I think it just boils down to this. First, I would think it's important to say the blackface, the minstrelsy, it's disgusting. It's an embarrassing that it was commonplace. it's embarrassing that a former mayor of our town engaged in it. And sure, lots of other people did it, but lots of other people at the time, before and after, recognized it, rejected it, and didn't support it and didn't engage in it. I think it's important for us to just kind of confront that. Many of us, I'm sure, have grandparents and great grandparents who we knew had heard out of their mouths, seen them engage in racist acts, and it was embarrassing and shameful for us. And we rightly should reject it. We rightly should call them out. We should say that was wrong. I don't support changing the name because Roy McCatherine isn't the only McCatherine. And we have a family of people in our town who still live here, who are neighbors, who continued up until very recently with Jolie as the mayor. With that name, who have been valuable contributors to making the town what it is. And if perhaps it was just some old dead guy who lived a long time ago and engaged in kind of gross racist stuff, renaming the town would be one thing. But it obviously is, and how else could they take it as a rebuke to them and their name if we change the name of the town? And for that reason, and I think it's a sufficient reason, I don't support changing the name.
Anybody else want to make a statement prior to voting?
The fact that Racic has withdrawn the recommendation, so all this information is helpful, but why don't we move on? I say we vote on this.
And Mary, you can have the final word.
I do agree that we should not change it. I think, part of this is it's been incredibly divisive to the town, and I think people have made it pretty clear what their views are, and agree with all the things that Barbara said in terms of why it really does not really appropriate.
Okay, Christine? No?
I do not support renaming the hall. Not for the reasons Rob gave. I'm less focused on the hurt to current neighbors than I am on just putting everything into the balance. And from what I have read about, and I'm actually reading a book on minstrelsy and its history right now to try to understand it better. But from what I've read about Roy McCatherine, who was mayor for 20 years and really guided the founding of the town, I put all the good he did in the balance against the blackface and against his role, however small, in the covenants. And it's not even close for me. I am fine with honoring him by, continuing to recognize the name McCatherine in the name of the town hall.
Okay, then let's move to a vote. A formal vote. All in favor of rejecting, I believe that was the term. Everybody, we've got, I see 6 in favor, opposed, just in case anybody, no? Rob, pull your hand down. Opposed? All right, 6-0. The council has rejected the name change to McCatherine Hall. All right, so we're going to leave this matter. It will come back. The other proposals will come back. I really do think the council should take each one up, deal with it as you will. If you think it needs to be refined, a better proposal, a more specific proposal, that's one option. We can deal with that when they come up. All right.
Good.
All right, so now we're finally up to the administrative matters. The first administrative matters is the auditing services contract. I'm going to let Jean say if she was still here,
Yep, I'm here.
who really revised the RFP to kind of, you know, good practices, features. So Jean, can you summarize we got 3 bids?
Yeah, we
Go
have
ahead.
3 bids, and the costs range. The one company, scroll to the top, SBC, it's SB and Company. They came in the highest. Are you putting them up, John?
I will be putting, I'm not going to put up their proposal. I will,
Yeah,
I
they,
will, yeah.
yeah, their clients, they're a big firm. They carry, their clients are not just small municipalities like us, but they do city of Gaithersburg, Hagerstown. They do entire counties, Kent County. They do universities as well. So their fees, we asked for 2024 and 4 subsequent years. Their fee for 2024 would be $14,000. We currently pay under $8,000. So they are the highest. They go all the way up to about 15,800 in the last year. Part of their cost is they have fancy systems that are helpful if you're auditing something large, which we are not. We would not benefit from those extra systems that they had. No point, I don't believe, in paying the extra money.
What was the first year again, Jean?
14,000.
Thank you.
Next, LSWG. They bid on it. I'm scrolling down to the place where they identify. They do a fair number of municipalities. They did not provide fees for 2024 plus 4 subsequent years. What they proposed was only 3 fiscal years and a fixed price of 10,000 each of those 3 years. So we would then have to rebid for 27 and 28. And they do Town of Kensington, Town of Chevy Chase, Town of Glen Echo, and Town of Colmar Manor. Those were references that they gave to us. Lindsay and Associates is our current auditor. Yes, it's a very good idea in general, in theory, to change auditors. You do lose quite a lot. You have to re-educate their new staff on how our town operates. That is one thing we would lose if we left Lindsay. I am able to tap them throughout the year to say, hey, something new came up. This is how I propose handling it. How does that sound? Is it in accordance with GAAP? And it's very useful to have that ease of talking to them. And they do a number of the smaller municipalities that are more in line with our work. Their proposal for 2024 was $7,875. And the last fiscal year, which is fiscal 28, it goes up to 9,108.
Repeat those because I can't type fast enough. 8,000.
No, 7,000.
Say it. 7.
7,875.
Thank you.
And then it goes up to 9,108.
Okay.
if you were to look just at price, Lindsay's the obvious a winner there.
So that's your recommendation.
I would, yes, in theory, it's nice to change auditors. We've been with them for quite a long time. But they do focus on the smaller municipalities. And I feel like that enables them to give us a little bit more of a personal touch.
Okay,
So Jean,
Yeah.
on a scale of A to F, how would you rate Lindsay's communications and service generally?
Generally, I would give them A minus. There was two incidents in this last fiscal year that I wouldn't say concerned me. Having been an auditor, I understand that when the newbie is put on the account, the client ends up doing a little bit of training, and that happened. But I also learned a lot in doing it and helping them think through it. So I wouldn't give them an A+. So
But Gene, if we had the other two companies came in, they would all be, I think you said they would all be newbies, right?
yeah, I
So
definitely see no point in SBC. There's no
Yeah.
point, nothing to be gained by paying that much more. Nothing.
Right.
The LSWG, there'd be a lot more of my time required
Yep.
in training them. And as you all know, I work about 8 to 10 hours a week.
Mhm.
So I'd be happy to not have to do a lot of retraining.
I think an A minus is about as good as you can expect.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
and I gave them a lot of pushback this year on some items, and they were willing to work with me on it. We'll gain a little bit. I had to migrate our QuickBooks to an online version. And that will enable them, they can get a sign-on, they can go into the system and audit what they want. I don't have to be pulling documents and sending them to them. I think it's a win-win. And I think they know that, and that's what it has allowed them to keep that price. That's about what we're paying right now, the 7,000. They're not trying to use this opportunity to increase their prices. That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Well, I would make the motion that we go with Lindsay.
I'll second that.
okay, further discussion? All right, then let's move to a vote. All in favor of awarding the contract to Lindsay Associates? That's unanimous. All right, Kathy?
John, I am so relieved I didn't have to take back my motion.
Yeah, that's a first, isn't it, for tonight?
Broke my streak.
Good. All right, good. On to the next administrative issue, which is our refuse and recycling bids. Those I'm going to actually just show you the bid. We got two bids from if I can remember the dang name, Casella, and from Key Sanitation. So I'm gonna just show you the bid page from Key Sanitation. Remember they're bidding on exactly the same RFP. So here's the Key Sanitation bid. And it comes in at 2,772 per month. Jane, you remember the current cost we pay
Yeah, it's like 3,700. Is
I'm
this,
sorry?
wait, is this just the trash or is it including recycling?
I'm sorry, this is just the, no, this is the wrong one. This is the recyclables, sorry.
Okay, because the recyclables is,
Yeah, here we are. Sorry, we're showing you the wrong one. This is the refuse,
yeah,
4158.
I,
And our current rate is,
yeah, I'm pulling up an invoice. I have one just down the hall.
Is that John per month?
I'm sorry,
Is that for, what's that for? I 4150
per month.
per month, okay.
Yeah,
is a per-
so the trash pickup is 2,250 a month,
Okay,
and the recycling is 1,518 per month. That's the current, yeah. So the
Okay.
total per month is 3,768.
all right, so, Key Sanitation has bid, 4158 and 2772.
Oh, wow.
That's a big difference.
Yes, it is. All right, and the other
sticking
bid
with
is
pink
from
trash, right?
Casella. Our actually it's from Casella, the pink trash company.
Mhm.
And I'll throw that up now.
Yeah, their numbers are slightly higher than what they currently.
Yeah.
Right, so here we are. This is for refuse, which is 25. 24 basically per month, and for recycling, hopefully is here somewhere. There it was here somewhere. Is there a separate one for recycling? Kathy, did you only send me the one?
Is this from Key?
No,
No,
Casella.
Casella.
This is the
No.
refuse collection, is the only one I have.
There are two that are big like that.
There, did you send them both to me?
I sure thought I did.
If you did, I'm must have overlooked it, but just a moment. Let me see
Do
if
we
I-
know, because this is the company we're using now, do we know if we ever got things sorted out where for a while it seemed like they were throwing recycling into the trash collection? I think they are doing it properly now where the recycling is being picked up separately, but I just wanted to confirm that because I know that was an issue.
I haven't heard a complaint in a while, actually.
Yeah.
So,
And
And oh, go
I
ahead.
talked to Rick Levine the other day, and he told me that this new company is getting split hoppers. So it'll be a lot easier to do that task.
And am I right that I don't know, but am I right that they're saying you no longer have to separate the recycling, or are we still supposed to separate with this company?
We still have to do it the same way. We separate.
Okay,
I have not heard anything otherwise.
okay,
so the RFP specifies that if the county is not requiring separation, that we would not be required for separating. You recall the RFP. If the county is requiring separation, we are to continue separation. And
so we
they
did
should
just get a
inform-
comment from Peggy that saw them throwing yard waste in with the recycling. So,
Well, I'm sorry, we're not
They
taking,
used to.
we're not taking anecdotal comments to that tonight.
okay.
Okay.
I just figured,
Uh,
I know this is the cheaper quote, so I just wanted to make sure we were, considering all sides.
However, is Rick on here? Rick, if you're there, unmute, please. You're E. Levine.
It's me. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
I did not have access to your recycling bid. Kathy, you sent it in some, and I'm sorry I missed this. All I got was an icon with a link, but the link goes to nothing.
No, these things are really long, and I sent them. They were all of it was. There were 3 attachments.
Yeah, well, I go to the site and it's not letting me get the one goes to a site and the others are attached. So you should have sent them in separate. I'm sorry, I should have checked this. So apologize. You can always send them as separate emails.
Can we put this discussion off until the next meeting, like
No.
until the budget
No.
meeting?
No.
No? Okay.
This feeds the budget. I can't develop the budget until I know the cost.
Rick, do you have access to your bid?
I actually don't. I'm at home and I don't have a copy of it
All
here.
right. Well, unfortunately, neither do I.
I'll go get it if you guys want to do something else for 10 minutes.
What does that mean? You're not home. You're at home.
No, I'm at home and I'll go run down to the office.
All right. Well, we'll defer this until you get back. Well, no, yes. Well, we'll defer this till you get back. We have the
Okay.
recording.
I'm going to speed.
All right.
What, can you just tell us what your number for the recycling is?
I don't have it right off the top of my.
I doubt it. Yeah,
Apologize.
that's asking a lot.
The bottom line number, come on.
It's less than what you'll be paying Key. I know that.
Yeah, I suspect that's probably not even
Yeah.
close.
But I mean, if you want me to discuss this a little more, I'd be happy to. Like Kathy was saying, I was one of the owners of Potomac, then we sold to Pink, and we sold to GFL. Casella is by far the best company that I have ever worked for. That includes Potomac Disposal. They are family owned. They're publicly traded. They're out of Rutland, Vermont. We are the southernmost location for Casella. John Casella and his brother started it in 1975. And their focus is more on recycling than trash. And I informed Kathy. Oh, Kathy, I think she has it. Man, that was fast.
Honey, I'm home.
You have it?
There's just so you guys know before you hear it somewhere else, in not too long a time, the county is shutting down their recycle center for 18 months because they are refurbishing it. They're putting in a new MRF. So every company that was taking recycling to Montgomery County is going to have to divert it somewhere else. And we have a place to take it. And it not only that, what Casella has that we didn't with Potomac or Pink or GFL is they have recycle centers in Pennsylvania. They have landfills in Pennsylvania. So what they're going to do, they propose this to the county. They're very interested. When they called us the other day, we had a Zoom meeting and all the haulers were informed of how they're going to be cracking down on commercial recycling. And they needed to do that, and it's happening now. But they said they're getting rid of the incinerator in Dickerson. They want to get rid of it, and they're looking for alternatives. Well, our general manager, Melinda O'Brien, we call her Lonnie, informed them that via rail, they can send the waste from Montgomery County Transfer Station by rail up to Pennsylvania. So they can close Dickerson, and they're very interested in that. But it's going back to the recycling. We're going to take it to a facility in Anne Arundel County. We're working a deal with them, and they're going to ship it by rail to Casella's processing plant up in Pennsylvania. So everything will be recycled. So we're very happy about that. We already have a plan in place when they shut down the existing recycle center at the transfer station. So that news just happened a few days ago. So we're very happy about that. But going back to Casella, they're very, very involved and dedicated to recycling.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm thrilled. I was going to give it up with GFL because they were a horrible company. They didn't care about anything. And then this company came in, and we're just all very happy to be involved and to be a part of Casella. And I'm sure if Lonnie was still awake, she has to be in at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning for a safety meeting. She would definitely contribute to this conversation. She came from Oneonta, New York, and she filled the general manager job here, and she's been the best I've ever worked with.
You want the numbers?
Yep.
Okay. This one is refuse collection and disposal.
Yeah. 25.
252381.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
And the recyclables, 156236.
Wow.
Okay. So let me do some quick addition. 40, 86. Okay. So those were the two bids. Stopping to share whatever I was sharing. Ask me what it was, but I'll put up the. It's not it. Stop that one again. And so here's where we are. Did I get the right one there? Okay. So currently we are paying Casella $37.58 for both. Kay's bid comes in, if my addition is correct, at $69.30, and Casella's bid for the new period is $40.86. I don't think we have a hard sell here, but any comments and any motions?
I move to award the recycling and refuse collection RFPs to Casella.
Second.
I second.
You can have it if you want, Eva. Eva seconded it.
Yeah. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
It's 5. Christine is
Oh,
missing.
sorry. Sorry, I forgot to,
Oh, she's there. That's
I'm here. I just forgot.
Rick,
Sorry.
thank you for coming to the meeting, and but thanks for the bid, and we're well familiar with your operation. We once again heard there's always people witnessing some co-mingling. I know some co-mingling may be acceptable, but we're going to put into the contract that any co-mingling we need to be informed about, because really it boils down to two things. One is, I think the residents of Washington Grove are extremely interested in recycling as much, whether it's yard waste, plastic, whatever, paper, and of course we do depend on the county's facilities and arrangements to make that successful. But we're also interested in we don't want to be doing work that is then undone. So if the residents are separating recyclables, paper, from cans, bottles, etc., we want to be sure that we're going to that trouble, because that's in fact the way it's being handled. If it's not being handled that way, for whatever reason, and I know the latest systems may well allow for separating everything commingled, then we want to be not have to go to the effort of separating all and while still being able to recycle. So we're going to have put that into the contract. It was in the RFP. I think that also in the RFP, if you didn't notice it, our sustainability committee is extremely interested in reducing the carbon footprint of the town. And part of that is our waste. So we were asking for some quantitation of how much waste is going out of Washington Grove. Obviously, Washington Grove is not going to make and break the climate change equation. But to the extent that we can act where we can, the town has a strong interest in doing that. We're, willing to go to some effort, to certain lengths to be able to do that. And so we are hoping to work with you guys, the sustainability committee is hoping to work with you guys to understand our waste stream as well. Just as an aside, we're going to be doing that with the leaf contract as well. How many leaves are leaving Washington Grove, just so we know what sort of possible impact that may be.
I understand. Yeah, and I was also told that, actually Lonnie told me the other day that we are going to be putting scales on all the trucks. Now, I don't know if we have a scale on a split body, if we have it on each side. I've never heard of that. But we will absolutely do what we can do to help you with your numbers, your recycle and trash numbers. We do that for the county anyway. Anybody who's so they're track numbers. That's what they're called, TRAs. So anyway, yeah, we do supply track numbers. And what I'm saying is hopefully, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Even the volume is helpful. I'm sure there's some sort of average weight of a volume if it's all, the same sort of mix of trash and or recycling. Okay, that's great. You guys have the contract and we'll be getting out the documents. So appreciate it.
Hey, I just
Really appreciate it.
Rick, I just wanted to mention one thing. The two guys that pick up our trash are absolutely amazing.
That's what we want to hear.
They are a delight. They really are.
Thanks, Peter. I appreciate that. I'll let them know.
Yeah.
I'll let them know.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
We really appreciate it. And we're looking forward to continuing our work with the town of Washington Grove.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good night.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Thanks. All right. Next item is the leaf collection RFP. I put that into the meeting materials. We would like to get that bid out by April, the April meeting for the purposes of our budget. Obviously, that doesn't begin until the fall. But we put together the leaf collection RFP. It's really just a bunch of changes in dates for now, except for the fact that I'm going to add in a request to quantify the amount of leaves by weight or volume. That again, quite similar to what we did with the refuse and recycling. This is at the request of the Sustainability Committee, and as you just heard, at least the trash and recycling people are doing this anyway for the county. So we're hopefully this isn't an unreasonable request. So that's not in there, but otherwise the contract is essentially identical to the previous RFP. So without showing that, I'll open it to the council for any questions, and then we can vote on distributing the RFP. Any questions, comments?
No.
Okay, if not, then I need a motion to approve the RFP.
Motion to approve the RFP.
Thank you, Peter.
Second.
Do not retract it.
Was that Rob?
I
Yes,
second.
okay. There will be no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's obviously unanimous. Thank you. All right, the storm water infrastructure maintenance RFP. Well, luckily, since we don't have any time to look at it, it isn't ready to be looked at. So I'm just giving a status report. It is being revised rather extensively. I'm not going to go into how it's being revised. I don't think we really need to go into it, but it will come back. It may come back. In fact, I'd like it to come back at our budget work session, which is actually a council meeting. So just because we want to move it along, and we just need the councils and any other public comment, so that we can refine it to the point where we're all pretty well satisfied it's what we want. So that's my status report. We've been working with Jason Mills of Soltez. Bob Boer has been lending his contract and engineering expertise on how to put together a proposal that will get us to our goals for this particular project. So and Patty Klein and Dave Coson and Joan have been working on revising the language. So hopefully they'll come back on March 25th. All right, next item, disposition of town maintenance equipment. This is just an FYI. We received a bid for 2 pieces of equipment, the skid loader, the Bobcat skid loader, and a Honda generator we have from guess who, RJ Landscapers. And so I'm going to be researching that and getting some advice as to whether or not we should sell those 2 pieces of equipment. The generator is, well under $1,000. The skid loader, however, the offer was $8,000, so it's substantial. All right. Next item, the policy on tree management. I'm bringing this to the council just so that you are aware that we have, with the help of, I have 2 of these, with the help of Audrey and Georgette, have written down the policy that that I've been following, and as has the Forestry and Beautification has been following. And I hope if you had a chance to look at all the materials, which there was a lot of, I know, you will have seen it. Basically, this is for the use of residents, so they understand that Kathy and any one of you, anybody can point to this. It will be put on the website, I'm sure, to understand how one goes about dealing with a town tree, that overhangs private property. So this is just an FYI on that. I'm going to eliminate that one and go on to the next item, which is the policy for snow removal from town roads. Given the hour, we can defer this one. We don't have any likely snow, knock on wood. So our policy on snow removal discussion could be deferred, if you will. So I recommend it be deferred. Last item on the administrative matters is the road repair work plan. The reason this is here is because we'd like to get the road repair work done in the current budget. It can overlap into next year's budget in June. You'll recall the last meeting. I showed the bid that was obtained in 2022. And I'm going to show this again here. But I've, at the request of Christine and others, wanted to see what we did not do last of the work that was bid. So that is about to be shown here in a moment. Do a quick edit on something. I'll give it to you. All right. So what needs to be done is we had bids that are now 2 years old, which means it's going to be getting obviously more expensive. And we thought we would go out to Veers and to Elaney and have them update the bids. It should be very easy. The bids usually are based solely on their cost per cubic yard of materials and whatever. So they will do a calculation and update those numbers. And with those numbers, we can decide exactly what work we want to do. So here's the revised table, and it's in the materials. No, it's not in the materials. I will put this in the materials. Maybe I already did. This shows the areas where work was not done. Remember, there's a map with these various letters showing the areas. So that's the ones here. And then there were some potential new segments. I asked you all if you had any suggestions. Well, some did come out from a few residents. One suggestion was that we do something about the 6th Avenue from Dorsey to where the actual walkway, no vehicular beyond this sign. The Planning Commission took a look at that suggestion. There was a letter they concluded, and I hope I put in there. Yes, the memo to the town council from Georgette, the Planning Commission chair, on the Planning Commission's recommendation regarding 6th Avenue. Basically, it's a recommendation that that it not be paved, that it not be tarred and chipped, but that it be improved to support safe vehicular traffic during all weathers. That is, the drainage be improved and the hardness of the surface be improved, and we've done that on walkways elsewhere by adding gravel and doing a few other things, as well as being sure that that segment is plowed of snow so that the residents have access. That was their recommendation. So I've removed it from further consideration for now for any paving. The other three, I hope you're seeing this. One was Locust Lane. Locust Lane is the access to some of the houses on the Circle or on Grove Avenue. And there is a tree root that has pushed up the pavement. It's a substantial tree root, and there is a substantial bump. And it does make going over, it's like a speed bump. Very effective. So the request was to consider that one. Then on Johnson Alley, there is an area where from about 10 feet, and I meant to look up the address. It's right where the guardrail ends, which is breaking up and certainly could use repair. I have it in red here, it's definitely in need of,
I think they're 411 Grove, I think is who that
yeah,
is.
that could be it. And then Hickory, these are ones I looked at. Hickory was suggested by someone to take a look at it. Down at the end of Hickory where the turnaround is, the turnaround is in reasonable condition considering it's a turnaround. The pavement is not high priority, but before the turn, you get to the turnaround, the roadway is breaking up. So that's another region. Bottom line is, these are the regions that I suggest we go out and get bid, and hopefully we can the council can make a confirmation of what work to do. I've also shown on this table a reassessment of the 2022 priority. And so we have a 2024 priority is the second number. So what has happened in the intervening 2 years? Not much, as you can see. My assessment, and you're welcome to look at any of these segments, is that not much has changed. The rest of Acorn is still deteriorating, and though it's serviceable, but it would definitely be a priority repaving. The Woodward part, and then you can look at the rest of these. There's largely most of these are not in dire need of repair. I will comment. I looked at all the roads. The roads in town are in remarkably good shape, in my opinion, which merely means for now, there's nothing desperately needed in repaving. I fear that 3 years from now there'll be half a mile of pavement will all have broken up, but we can keep our fingers crossed on that. So I'm going to go out. I'm just telling you, I'm going to go out and get new prices on all of the ones that were bid. I'm going to ask if they'll give a bids on these few new areas. They're very limited repairs, just to see. It's something we could do outside. I mean, major road work, but I think we can include it here. So that's my status report on this.
I have a question, John. Based on the way this is being priced, why can't we entertain a third bidder coming in and giving us pricing?
Well,
I know
we
I asked
can,
this
we can reissue the RFP. It's a little work intensive because you actually have to define, or the bidder has to define what exactly they are going to do in each of these areas, how extensive, from here to here. What we did last time is I actually went to the trouble and took some paint and went in and marked from here to here and from here to here, and you saw how many there were. And therefore the bids were, apples to apples for that. Of course, it could be modified after discussing with the contractor, but at least the bids were, and that was all developed with the help of Veers, as you may all recall.
Right. Well, I don't want to add a lot of extra work. I just dealt with a company up in Mount Airy that was really inexpensive and fantastic work, and I thought that if we can get this for a lot cheaper, same quality, why not try? But if it's going to be,
What's their name?
I can't tell you right now.
Yeah.
I can send it, but it's just that if it seems like we're sending out, if we're going to send out a new RFP and it's not too much work, I would like to include that. But if it is, if it is a lot of work, I'm fine with not doing it. You just muted yourself, John.
Sorry. I know, I've been coughing.
Yeah, it's contagious.
Too much talking and not enough breathing. Yeah. Okay. So I appreciate what you're saying, and I'll tell you what, if life in the town slows down a bit, I'm willing to put it out for a new RFP. If so, I will definitely bring it to the council for your approval.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right, that's the end of the administrative matters for tonight. Where are we? 9:30. It's not that bad. Okay. We're now on the unfinished business, the first item of which has no number for some reason, is the ADU ordinance 2023-08. What I wanted to do before a discussion, well, so as you recall, the council's previous discussion ended with a subgroup of the council being Eva, Barbara, and Peter, I think with the assistance of Georgette, known on the documents as PEGB, went through the ordinance and made some recommended or some changes that they were going to recommend to the council, and that was in the packet. And we can get to that in a moment, but I did want to, before I did that, I just wanted to remind everyone about the timeline that the council is working under. Just the timeline. Yes, the timeline that the council is working under, and the dates, of course, on this thing that I'm going to show you, I should have updated them. Basically, though, we have 90 days to act, and then there's a bunch of things to do. So we don't want to put this off beyond, when was it introduced? Let me get it up here. The working group revisions.
Wasn't it introduced during the last regular town council meeting, right? February 12th, is that right?
No, it's when I'm sorry.
Oh, when it first came over?
It was December for sure.
Okay, never mind, sorry.
Running out of time to act one way or the other. Here it is. Yeah, 12/11. So we're currently at we're currently at 3 months. I forgot exactly how much time it is, but we need to act. The timeline sits here. I didn't put the current dates on, but it currently has action by the end of January. Well, we've missed that one. Nobody's going to complain because everybody's doing such a good job. So let's, it's not that we've been shirking attention to this zoning text amendment. All right, so we are at the discussion, and I'll let the working group take it from here. Who's up?
Barbara, do you want to talk about the change? Are we just kind of summarizing the changes we've made, or yeah?
That would be my thought, that we would go, because everybody saw, what was introduced from the planning commission, and we can just walk through, because we have the document and track changes, and just show the changes that we are suggesting and answer any questions on those.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, John, do you want to put up the document with our
put up
changes?
the one here. Let me put up the version where I put some one or two comments. Hold on. So therefore I have the wrong one up. This way I won't have to get confused. Famous last words. All right. Okay. You guys can see that?
Mhm.
Now, well, how would you like to show it with the review markup? All the markup is shown. Okay, well, why is it not shown?
Oh, it is. It's
Yeah.
just-
I thought you had some comments.
Yeah, the comments mostly, I think you don't need to see them because we could just talk about what they are. A lot of the comments would show like where something was deleted, but you know, if it's not there, I don't think it makes a difference. You know, because we might have changed something, so we might have deleted one thing and added something else, but you'll see what we added.
All right, so you want to go through this?
Yeah, this is the place to start.
Uh,
So yeah, this is in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the,
Okay, so this is like the first substantive suggesting that we're making. So we want to make clear that the guidelines that were proposed by the Historic Preservation Commission are voluntary and recommended. You know, as we all know, that when you have plans to do something to your house, it's recommended that you go to the HPC and they have some suggestions for you, and it's up to you if you want to use them or not. So we just added those words in here just to make that clear.
okay,
These are just, you know, the date and, you know, minor word change. That's nothing significant.
okay, well, so that's the resolution, but here's the gist, is the amendments to Article 7.
Mhm.
All right, so this was in there in the first place.
Right.
This isn't showing up the way, here we go, yeah. So,
Okay, so yeah, household. So we had a whole big discussion about this, and the county has a definition of household, and we went around and around on like what should we call a household. And then we finally realized we didn't really need to define household because we don't use it in the ordinance. Now, we do later talk about the number of people who are allowed to live in an ADU, but we just at the very end decided, let's just leave the current definition of household there because for the purposes of this ordinance, we don't need to change it. So we're saying keep the existing definition of household in the current ordinance. That's all we're saying there. In other words, leave it alone. Okay. Okay, next, off-street parking, just to clarify, I think we had on-site parking, but off-street was the better term, so we changed that off through the document, so we had to put a definition in here. This is the definitions section of the ordinance. So that's what that is. Short-term residential rental. We do have a section in here where we prohibit short-term residential rental, so we had to define it. So again, this is the definition section. Here is the definition of short-term residential rental. All right, next. Again, you know, on-site versus off-street.
right, it's the next several are like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here.
Okay, so now, right, E. So the county ordinance limited the number of people over 18 to 2. And we had feedback from residents saying, that's really not going to work here. We already have households where there's, you know, two couples or an adult with 2 adult children or whatever, some parameter where you would end up with more than 2 adults. And so we felt like we don't want to limit it to 2 adults. We didn't think that was right. So but we did say there should be a limit on the number of people living there because it's 2 bedrooms and most of the time it's going to be a limit of 800 square feet, could be even smaller depending on the size of the footprint of the house that you're building it on. So we decided 5 was a good number, you know, could have been 4, could have been 6, I don't know, but we decided for a 2-bedroom ADU in somebody's house or backyard, 5 seemed like a really fair number. And in fact, there may be landlords, if they rent this out, they might feel like they don't even want to rent it to 5 people. They might only want to rent it to a smaller number, but that would be between the landlord and the tenant. For the purpose of the ordinance, the maximum would be 5.
And that's in any combination. So it could be like 1 adult and 4 children, or any combination. We're just saying 5 people.
Yes.
So
I just want to make a comment. The county's attempt was to deal with, to have a partner, two adults who are partners,
Mhm.
both of whom may have children. But of course, this is limiting to 5 occupants, meaning of any age. So I just want to point that out, that
Yes.
it means 3 individuals of any ilk.
So
No.
is there a
It means
concern there?
5.
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah, what?
No,
What do you
it's
think?
just pointing out that there is a limitation there, that someone with larger families will be excluded.
Yes.
It's 2 bedrooms, though. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, because again, it's the size of the building, the fact that there are 2 bedrooms. There needs to be a number there, and that is the number that we chose.
Right.
Okay. So,
Hold on.
okay, next.
Peggy, are you addressing this, or you want to wait till Barbara's finished? Let's wait till Barbara's finished. Okay. All right. So
Okay.
you did this.
Okay. Now then the next one is this is where we prohibit short-term residential rentals. In the other section, we defined short-term residential rentals, and now we're saying these are prohibited.
Okay. So under attached dwelling units, we have this.
Okay. So let's look at B.
And Barbara, sorry to jump in. I just
Please,
want to
no,
also
please.
say with the attached accessory dwelling unit, because we had a lot of conversation about what we mean by this, and that we're talking about either something that is being built that doesn't already exist, that is being built with the purpose of being an ADU, or it can also be something that already exists, like a basement or an attic that the owner is going to turn into an ADU. So Barbara will go over the specifics, but we felt like there needed to be language for those 2 separate cases.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Okay. So B, this is about limiting the size. So this is basically, you have your house, you have something that you're building outside of the house. It can be no bigger than 800 square feet. And it still has to fit into the whole footprint limitations that are in A, that are already in the ordinance about your house can only take up a certain percentage of your yard. So that has to be met, and it can't be more than 800 square feet if you're adding new space on the outside of the house, the existing house. So then, as Eva was saying, we also looked at, and the county has a section here about basements, but we decided to talk about basements, whatever permutation of your house you want to talk about. If you already have a section of your house that is more than 800 square feet, like that's okay, but you still can't, let's see, the gross sphere. It can, yes. So if say your basement is more than 800 square feet, then your ADU can be more than 800 square feet, because from the outside of the house, it looks exactly the same. Like your neighbors aren't going to see the new building or the ADU or any of that. It's going to look the same from the outside. So we thought it was fair to allow people to build something a little bigger if they had the space.
Right. Well, not build it, but if it's already there and you're turning it into an ADU.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
And sometimes this is, yeah. So if it's a basement, or like, with the Englishes, they have that separate wing that's already there. They're not building anything extra. They can turn that into an ADU. And if it's more than 800 square feet, that's allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the 5 people, because you could have a basement, you could have a bedroom that's 1,200 square feet or something, and bunk
But
beds
still,
in there.
still limiting to 5 people. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's key.
Right. Now, the next section D, this has to do with, this is an HPC suggestion, the whole idea of compatibility with surrounding houses. And we just cleaned up that language a little bit, changed volume to enclosed space, compatible. Oh, and again, use the terms voluntary and recommended, just to clarify that, as we did earlier. And then that same section applies, this is for the detached units. This same compatibility provision applies to that as well. Now this one has to do, this is sort of like, we're not using the word grandfather, but it's kind of like a grandfather clause. So if you have a building on your property now that doesn't fit into these parameters exactly, but it's there and it was built a long time ago and it's fine, you can turn that into an ADU. And this section was actually taken right from the county code, because we just felt it was fair that if you have this lovely building on your property that's been there and not bothering anybody, and if you want your mother-in-law to come live there, like, why shouldn't you be able to do that? That seems like a fair thing to do. So that's what that section is about. And then section 614, town council review. I know there's a lot of concern. This is all new. Like, what if, we pass this and there's something that we hate? There's a mandatory review in 5 years. So the ordinance shall be reviewed by the town council no later than March 2029. But if the town council wants to review it before, it can do that as well. So we're not stuck with this ordinance forever. We can change it anytime the town council wants to change it. Then a few more. Again, the off-street thing versus on-site.
Lots of those.
Yeah. And then in the last section, this would have allowed ADUs to be built in the commercial corner. And our master plan does allow for housing to be built there. And that's fine, except it wouldn't be an ADU. So it just wasn't, this isn't the proper place for it. When there's a plan or discussion about what to do with that property and how to fit housing there, we'll have that discussion, but this is not the place for it. So that's why we took that out. So those are pretty much the changes. We went through everybody's comments, all the letters that were written, the various, verbal feedback that we got. We really tried our best to incorporate people's ideas and address their concerns. Mm-hmm. So are there questions or?
Sounds like we're ready to vote on it.
Well, I just want to point out.
Oh, wait, Peggy has her hand up, actually.
Yes, Peggy's sitting here.
Yeah, it's actually Bob.
Well, we don't want to listen to it.
Well, if he
Peggy.
doesn't say Bob.
Not allowed.
Okay, anyway, I wanted to address the voluntary question about the HPC recommendations. The HPC actually suggested that due to the increased scale risk of ADUs to the property, the increased scale risk to the historic district, that the recommendations of the HPC would be forwarded to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission would be enabled, similar to the subdivision ordinance, to actually act on those recommendations.
Yes, so we talked a lot about that. So the way it was worded, it was something along the lines of, then the PC can make its decision based on its interpretation of the comprehensive plan or something like that. And we felt like we should put into the ordinance whatever guidelines and rules we want the PC to follow. It's not a good idea to just leave it open to the Planning Commission to say, well, take a look at the comprehensive plan and just decide this permit based on the comprehensive plan. They really need to be clear about what guidelines they need to follow. The people who are applying for a permit need to know what those guidelines are, or the rules, I should say, really, they're not guidelines, it's an ordinance. And then the neighbors in the surrounding community need to know what they can expect when their neighbor is building an ADU in their yard or, however it is. So we felt like that was a very, kind of a mushy kind of language that was suggested. So we did not think that that was appropriate to include.
So the HPC has been operating under a set of guidelines for what, 20 years, and has a pretty good track record for what those particular guidelines are. The guidelines are for the mostly related to the scale and the mass of the houses, and those guidelines are published, so it's not as if they're a mystery. So the intent was for, since the potential increased risk from increased scale of the houses from this ordinance, that there should be an increased amount of management, so to speak, by the town of those projects.
Well, you need to be clear though on what the management is. To me, to say, well, it just has to, however the comprehensive plan is interpreted, that really leaves it open. And I would say that really does not protect property rights. I mean, I really think if that was challenged, in court as being unconstitutional, there would be really grounds for that, because it's so vague. What does that mean? I think you really need to be clear when you tell people what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do with their property. So that's why we didn't include it.
Does that apply to the subdivision ordinance as well?
We did not specifically go into a lot of detail on that. I don't. The
planning commission currently has that power for subdivision.
Well, that sounds very, very sticky.
Bob, the language here in this ordinance actually does, I think, what you were concerned about. I'm just reading it here. The detached accessory dwelling unit should be compatible with the existing structure in the neighborhood and should be compatible with the historic integrity of the historic district and the voluntary recommended guidelines for new construction as defined by the Historic Preservation Commission. That sounds like a criteria that the Planning Commission can act on.
Is that true, Barbara?
Well, it is the way this is now.
That's what the intent of that was. That's why that language is included in several of the different sections.
Yeah, I think we changed the language from should respect the historic integrity to should be compatible with the historic integrity, but it's still the same, it's similar to what was there.
So I guess the whole question is, would the Planning Commission be able to to compel an applicant to reduce the impact of the project?
Well, are they able to do it now?
No, not on regular houses, no.
Because the historical preservation recommendations are not mandatory. So, and they're not mandatory here, and they've never been mandatory. We did not make them mandatory.
The intent of the suggestion by the HPC was to make them essentially mandatory as managed by the Planning Commission due to the increased scale risk.
Yeah, but if you're making something mandatory, you have to be really clear about it. Like we have the mandatory limit of 800 square feet, for example, you can measure that. But when you say mandatory, to be compatible with the existing structure, if you say mandatory to be compatible with the comprehensive plan, like the comprehensive plan is a lot of pages. That's like, how do you parse through that and determine what's mandatory in that plan and what isn't? I mean, actually, and our comprehensive plan is not mandatory. So this is as close, I think, as you can get without making it mandatory, and it never has been, and it was not our intent to make it mandatory.
We
That
were
was-
thinking,
Bob,
had some-
our ordinances for construction do not contain this sort of language here. So I think your worries are, I don't think there's a huge worry here. This actually contains pretty actionable requirement that it follow the recommended guideline. And if the planning commission or the historic preservation commission doesn't feel it has, then there's cause for not approving.
So John, what Bob's referring to is the powers. We've had some very good success stories with subdivisions, which we don't, and we have more control there than we have with the individual residents, and that's kind of what he's looking at. And I think that's okay, but I really feel like limiting the detached ADU to 800 square feet does control machinization. And as far as the aesthetics of what the homeowner wants to build, I don't think the town really, wants anybody to have control over what they want to do. I think the HPC can influence them in a great, and to move in a direction that would, with what we want. But as far as being mandated, I don't think we're gonna, it's gonna go through.
So
Sorry.
the reason that this comes up is that we did go through a process when we were dealing with mansionization to deal with the and the FAR came out of that. The FAR covered a great deal of the problem, but did not cover all of the problem. So we have I guess been lax in our attention to trying to remedy the risk that is still there for mansionization. And this is one attempt to say, well, okay, if there's a new ordinance and there is an increased risk of mansionization, then that is a reasonable reason to try to address the risk.
Well, somebody could add 800 square feet onto their house now, and the HPC desires would not be mandatory on that homeowner. They would be limited by the footprint on their property.
That
So-
is correct. That's correct. But the risk that somebody's going to add 800 square feet, I think, is has been increased due to the fact that now it's a potentially profit-making endeavor.
But
Why would somebody more likely to put something on their house that was incompatible because it's an ADU versus something that was just going to be like their extra den or something? Why do you think that would happen?
Well, a den is certainly not 800 square feet, so the 800
A
square
den
feet a den is still a sizable addition to the small houses that we have in town. 800 square feet is still a sizable addition.
Yeah, but it's going to be no matter what, it's going to be 800 square feet. It's just you're talking about what it looks
Or
like.
less.
But it doesn't affect McMansionization. Right?
The impact of the 800 square feet on the small houses in town is fairly large.
But that's a done deal. They're going to have you're not going to go back and say you can only have 600 square feet.
No. So what you do is you try to mitigate the impacts of that 800 square feet. That would be
Right, but that's not but that doesn't affect McMansionization.
Right, because the size is the size.
The size is the size, yeah.
No, well, yeah.
I mean, I appreciate what you're saying because I know that I wouldn't want to have somebody put a box next to my house, and I appreciate that. And but I think that most people are going to be, I don't think it helps the property value by putting a box there versus making the property more attractive. And if you are able to influence them, which you have in many other houses, I mean that's going to be the key. But we didn't see a way around this. We discussed this for quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
Does
I know you want
anybody
to
else have comments or questions? Okay.
Okay,
So,
right.
so then do we move to a motion to approve then?
Yes.
John?
Yeah,
Sounds
that
good. Yeah.
that would be where we are. If is someone making, are you making a motion to approve this, the ADU ZTA? Now,
I can,
wait,
or if somebody
I
else
did
wants.
mean to make a comment.
Okay,
You can move to act, or you can allow the town to take a look at the amendments prior to acting. In this town, it's usually the best policy is to just allow a little bit more time. Like, we can go to the March 25th meeting. It's only 2 weeks away. And intend to act on it, which would allow the town to, at least anyone who's interested, to see the amended ZTA.
And this fits in with our time frame, right?
What? Well,
This
I'm
fits in
going the time frame. Nobody's going to complain about the time frame. I think we're
Okay.
good.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine if that's what people want to do. I do think at the last meeting where we discussed this, there was a lot of confusion. People had a lot of confusion about what was actually in the ordinance. So hopefully they've been listening, or they can come to me or Barbara or Peter with questions if they're not sure they're understanding it. So I would just say that.
yeah.
Or Georgette.
Or Georgette. Yeah, she actually is probably the best person.
Yeah.
She's shaking her head.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I will do is, before the meeting on the 25th, I will put out a Grove alert that in addition to the budget work session, which is always a barrel of fun, the council will intends to act on the ADU ordinance. And I'll include the amended ordinance so people can see that the detached are still there. I mean, there's been criticism of that and all of that stuff. So I think that would be the most transparent way of going about this. I do see the council being in favor of going ahead with this. So
Well, can we just go around and I
Yeah,
know
I get
that
comments. That's okay.
just make sure that nobody has a problem with this.
Okay, well, we'll exclude the three of you since you
Right.
brought it to the council, so we can start with Christine over here. You have anything to?
No, I have no comments.
You're okay? Good.
Yeah.
Okay, Mary? Mary or Rob?
Mary, you're muted.
Sorry, I lost my audio for a while. No, I'm for it as it currently is.
Okay, and lastly, Rob. You there, Rob? Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I support the edits. I had one question on the short-term residential rental language which was added. Barb and Eva. So is that intended to prohibit like an Airbnb rental?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the language says that it's prohibited on any property that includes an accessory dwelling unit. So if it doesn't include accessory dwelling unit, you can rent out your house.
I think there are other ordinances that apply to that. That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly tweak that just to make it more clear. What section is that in?
It is in section 6.11.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I see that. That could be seen as confusing. So yeah, we could just say, prohibited in accessory, I mean, since this is about accessory dwelling units, that it's prohibited in accessory dwelling units, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, good
Yeah,
point.
I don't think that town ordinances say anything about room rental. It is by omission, you are allowed to rent your room.
Oh, that, okay. But so, I mean, in this case, we can just say short-term residential rental is prohibited in accessory dwelling units.
Yeah.
And just
Right.
leave
I
it
think
there.
that was pretty clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so we'll plan, the council can plan to act on this on March 25th. Great, great
Okay.
job. Good to see a lot of some good consensus on this. All right.
I have a question on, didn't that short-term rental issue come up with the bed and breakfast issue? Didn't the council do something
Yes, and.
when that came up?
Right. So yes, it did. I'm not sure. I looked for short-term room rental in our ordinance and didn't find anything.
Mhm.
Let's come back, Joan. I mean, you're right. Let's come back at the March 25th meeting with an answer concerning what prevents, short-term rentals in town, in general. Yeah, you can. John Bersunas wants to know if he can charge his adult son room rent. You can charge him double rent, John.
But he has to buy his son a new car.
Right, have to pay for his own car. All right. Okay, so the next item is back to the neglected maintenance of properties, on which the closed session focused. I think in view of the fact it's 10 o'clock, I'd recommend we defer discussing that, since I know the council would like to create some mechanism for more efficiently dealing with the problem, but tonight may not be the night. Any objections to deferral?
No.
Okay, good. All right, then the next, any new business? All right. The regular business, make this quick, is the regular business back at the tail of the meeting, town council reports. Of note, let me move these where I can look at you guys. Of note, one was the Gateway Committee report by Peter. A lot of signs have been taken down around town. They're going to be replaced someday. You can read the report and see all of those that have been acted on. The Planning Commission, we already handled, recommended against paving the portion of 6th Avenue. The website, we are already, Christine was already commended hugely for hosting all the residents' communications and all the work she's doing on the website. Thank you, Christine, again. That's in her report. The Woods report had a recommendation that came from, it doesn't matter who it came from. The Woods Committee is supporting scheduling a master gardener to make a presentation to the town residents about native plants and promoting ecological biodiversity, to be scheduled either in conjunction with either Earth Day or Arbor Day. And the other thing I just picked out was that was the RASEC business, but we've already handled that one as well. So anybody else have any comments about their council reports at this time? Okay, if not, we're on to approval of the minutes of the council meeting of February 12th. So the minutes will come up someday soon. Here,
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Peter's on top of things. Good.
Second, Barbara.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to approve these minutes. Anyone have any comments about the minutes? Corrections, additions, etc. Okay, then we'll move to a vote on approval of the February 12th minutes. All in favor? Any opposed? By the way, I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody appreciating the minutes. Kathy does the first draft, throws everything onto paper, and then I do spend a pretty significant amount of time making sure that it communicates really the gist of what the council was doing, perhaps more than other minutes might do, but I think it records pretty well the discussions that underlie a lot of the actions that happen here in town. So I do appreciate us not having a hassle over the minutes. Thank you. All right, so that brings us to the next meetings. So we mentioned many times that on Monday, March 25th, we're at 7:30, we're having a town council meeting. Main item of business will be the budget work session. We've now added action on the ADU ordinance to that meeting, March 25th, 2 weeks. And then, and now we're on to the April council meeting. So if you guys can check your calendar, the suggestion was made to push the council meeting to, I'd prefer the 16th, Tuesday.
I'm good either day. It's good for me.
I actually have a conflict on a Monday, but Tuesday's good, Wednesday's good, Thursday's good.
Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, I'll do whatever. I have to rush from yoga to council meeting on Tuesdays, but that's fine.
I
You'll
can
be
do
energized.
Tuesday. I can't do Wednesday or Thursday, but I can do Tuesday.
Okay, Tuesday, good. Tuesday, sounds like Tuesday, great.
I
Okay.
can't do Tuesday, but you don't have to have me because you record.
Okay, are you
All right.
planning a sick day? The cat has to go to the vet?
No, I'm going to the beach.
Okay, all right, well, thank you, Kathy, but, all right, so we're rescheduling the council meeting for Tuesday, April 16th. Thank you, that's good. All right, so we're at adjournment. Great job, everybody.
That was something.
And one, just to remind everyone, we'll put onto an agenda maybe in April if the air has cleared, the other RASIC recommendations for individual consideration. Once again, I'm recommending that they be handled that way, just to remind you, because it takes them seriously. It addresses the merits. It allows the council to give RASIC, legitimate feedback that you guys paid attention, but that you weren't happy for one reason or more reasons.
So why don't we do those as I thought Paula suggested, do those instead of doing 4, do one at a time.
Yeah, one at a time, but maybe
Okay,
one
so it would be
after
one
the
per
other,
meeting.
not on different meetings. Well, yeah, yes.
So you're saying at the next meeting, we're gonna do all four, or we'll
Not
just?
next.
do one?
At the next meeting where there seems to be sufficient time.
That we would do all four in one meeting.
Well, as many as fit.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I think he's just saying we'll vote on each one separately,
Yeah,
right?
that's
yeah,
really the bottom
Yes, I
line.
think, yes.
So it's not April, but I'm sorry, I missed some. It's not April.
It could be April.
Okay.
It's hard to see, quite, the
Time
crystal
there.
ball isn't that quite that clear. Could well be April. But
Okay.
we're moving a lot of business tonight, so.
Okay, okay, whatever. I'm not pushing it. Okay,
Okay. All right, motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Thank
Second.
you.
Well, I will.
I'm sure anybody opposed to adjourning?
No.
Thank you,
They're
everybody.
already gone.
Thanks, everybody.
Wow.
Thank
Thanks.
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Aye.
Have mercy.
We heard that.
Oh, sorry.